So, yeah, Philippines. Philippines has been a good story over the past 10 years, 15. I know Nathan Shapiro and we came at roughly the same time and have seen a great transformation in the country, as we all have. And one of the greatest and most important things to understand is that if the country is to do well, it is because you do well in your career. And so Maulik Parekh came to us, a year or two ago and said, I think even before that he had this idea. He said, Richard, the country has grown and it's very exciting, but the country will not continue to grow unless we keep building high-quality, world-class managers who can build world-class careers in Philippines. And along the way, of course, you can earn world-class incomes as well, of course. So we had a great passion for this and talked on and on about it. And Richard, this is what we have to do, and this is what the nation's depending on, and all this kind of stuff. So this is what came to these afternoon sessions. So Maulik came, I can't remember how many years ago. Maulik, how long have you been in the Philippines? 7 years? Okay, so he came with a guy, I'll just give you just a brief story. He came with another organization, I hope I'm allowed to say the name, everybody knows the name, it's Teletech, very high quality organization. And he came when the organization was 6,000 people, and they worked like maniacs, these people, and built it up to 22,000 people within a short time, less than 2 years or so, and did a great contribution to the nation, to that industry, because everybody talked about it. Nobody had ever seen such growth in Philippines or anywhere in the world in that industry, and it really got people in the global industry to really open up their minds and really look at Philippines carefully about what can be done in Philippines. Now, Maulik has a boss who is well known as a strong-willed character. I met the guy and had lunch with him 6 months or so ago. Good guy, and you respect the guy a lot, but I think I would say that for me personally, I'm not talking for Maulik, but for me personally, maybe I would have difficulty working with him for my whole life, if I can just say. That's a reasonable statement? He's known in the industry as a very intense and brilliant type of person. So Maulik decided to move along and ended up getting a phone call, excuse me, from Manny Pangilinan, who I'm sure we all know here, and asked to run SPI Global here. And it was his first time, in my view, in an organization where he had the overall responsibility. In the past, he'd been, focused on operations and so forth, but this was an overall responsibility: finance, sales, marketing, global for global operations. This is a large operation, and I know we have a large number of SPI people here. Can we see our SPI people? Where are we? Yes, good. Okay, very good to have them. Yes, and the organization has done well and award-winning and all these kinds of things. I think they just won another award for Best Employer last week, I understand. So I could go on, but I won't here. So please welcome Maulik Parekh to the stage. I'm glad to have him and see him again.
Thank you, Richard. In the past, when I felt a bit depressed, I would call my shrink, and now I call Richard. It really makes me feel good about myself. And thanks for, by the way, validating my reason for leaving Teletech in front of 300 people here. Before I talk about today's subject, the topic, are you climbing the right mountain? And the 7 secrets of a happy and a fulfilled life. I will take first 5 minutes here and tell you a story of a little girl named Janet. The reason I want to share this story with you is because this story actually captures the essence of why we are here today and this topic that we'll be discussing. On October 9th, 1978, Mr. and Mrs. Bellarmino welcomed their fourth child, and they named her Janet. And Janet was one of the 4 kids they had. They were living as a middle-class family in a typical household in Paranaque. When she was around 4 years old, the family decides to move to Bayombong, Nueva Vizcaya, to raise their kids in a safer environment. And Janet in Bayombong was having a great time. You know, she was climbing trees like typical girl her age. She was walking around chasing dogs. She was swimming in the streams or the river, and sometimes even riding the back of a carabao. So life was good for her. She enjoyed school, but she realized school was not her thing. It's not school that she's going to be excelling at. One day, something interesting happens in her life. She's walking back from school, going home, and she sees these young girls, some of them younger than her age, walking around with these big, huge tennis rackets. It was the day when Bayombong was actually hosting the regional tennis tournament. So she was intrigued. She stopped at the tennis court and watched for a while, watching these young girls getting on the court and playing tennis with each other with these big rackets bigger than their bodies. She was hooked. She went like, aha, if these girls can do it, maybe I can play tennis too in my life. Maybe I can try learning how to play tennis. So she rushed home from the tennis court, looked for her dad. Dad was a great tennis player himself, and asked him, Dad, I just saw these kids playing tennis. Would you teach me how to play tennis? And Dad said, of course, no problem. He thought this was going to be a fad, you know, she's going to play tennis for a couple of months and then she's going to forget about it. But he was wrong. Janet fell in love with tennis. Every spare moment she had from school and from all the household chores that she had to do, she will find herself on the court playing and practicing her passion. And it was amazing. In 7 years that she played tennis in Bayombong, she won many battles. She won many awards. And she got the varsity scholarship to attend UP Diliman. How many of you have attended UP Diliman here? We got like 3 people. The rest of them are Ateneans and LaSalle, I guess, yeah? Anyway, UP, as you know, is a place you go to expand your horizons, right? You go there to expand your horizons intellectually, physically, spiritually, and that's exactly what happened to Janet. She was kind of getting tired of tennis by then, and she went into this group, very elite group, who was into these extreme sports. They were doing the adventure racing. They were doing some of the mountaineering here in the Philippines. They were into triathlons. And in a very short period of time, Janet carved out a name for herself. She became a champion triathlete. She started winning the adventure races here in the Philippines and in Hong Kong. And she became an avid mountaineer. One day, out of the blue, a phone call came that changed her life forever. It was a phone call from a guy named Art Valdez. He was the head of the Philippine Everest team, the group responsible for taking Filipinos, training them, and then taking them all the way to the top of Mount Everest. He called her and said, hey, Janet, I heard so much about you. I'm impressed with what you have done with all these extreme sports. We are looking for people like you who are pushing their limits, people who are in top-notch physical condition. Would you like to join a group who will train for the next 3 years and may have a chance to potentially climb Mount Everest? Janet was surprised. She, in her life, never imagined that she would be climbing Mount Everest. That was not one of her dreams. But then she realized this is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So she said yes. In 2004, 45 people from this group started a grueling training session in 2 years. By 2006, only 9 brave souls remained. Some of them were asked to leave because they were just not going to cut it. The rest left on their own because they couldn't stand the intensity of the training. The trainers thought Janet was the most excited and the most committed member of this training team. And that excitement and commitment paid off because on May 16th, 2007, Janet became one of the top 3 Filipinas to climb Mount Everest. You know, the girl who was raised in Baombong, the girl who lived all her life at the sea level, was standing tall and proud with the Filipino flag on the top of Mount Everest at the height of 29,029 feet. The girl who lived all her life in this tropical climate of this country, the girl who saw the snow for the first time in her life when she was 25, was standing tall and proud on top of the snow-covered, snow-capped Mount Everest in the bone-chilling cold of minus 25 degrees Celsius. Folks, we're very fortunate and very lucky to have Janet Bellarmino with us today. If you can please stand up and be recognized. Yeah. You'll have to write a big check for me after that big intro, or at least take me for free to the Mount Everest Base Camp. We'll bring Janet here in a later session to talk about her inspiring story more. But the reason I wanted to start with this story is because if you look at Janet's life, she found out very early on in her life what her passion was. She found out very early on in her life what her calling was. She knew school is not going to be her calling. She knew physical activity, sports, would be something that she would be very good at. She didn't care whether society agreed with that or not. She didn't care whether parents or the peers agreed with her or not. She found her bliss and she followed it. Janet Bellarmino found the right mountain to climb. The question is, have you found the right mountain to climb in your life? Have you found something meaningful to accomplish in this life? Have you found your calling? Have you found your bliss? These are the questions we'll be talking on this afternoon. Now you may say, Maulik, why should we spend 3 hours asking this question? I mean, that's a lot of time to talk about one question. I will give you 2 different reasons why you should think about this question very seriously and answer it. Number 1, if you aspire to do something incredible in your life, if you aspire to be among the best in the world in what you do, if you want to be the world class, you better be climbing the right mountain for you. Look at the people around us, the people who are very successful. Manny Pacquiao, Jessica Sanchez, Lea Salonga, so many other Filipino role models. Look at them. Is Manny Pacquiao going to his mom and say, Mommy Lee, why did you push me into boxing? I always wanted to become a poet. No. Manny Pacquiao knew that His bliss is boxing. This is what he is meant to do. Lea Salonga, her parents wanted her to become a doctor at one point. But she knew singing is her bliss, and she did that. And the reason all of these people have become the best in class and best in the world is because they found their bliss and followed it. So if you aspire to be the best in what you do, if you want to be among the best in the world in what you do, then it's important that you're climbing the right mountain for you. Now you may say, Maulik, why are you asking us to climb the right mountain? It seems like a lot of work. I'm happy in my life. I'm comfortable. Why should I think about changing my course of life and do something that may be a lot of work for me? Fair question. But I'll share with you a study that was done by this Australian nurse. Her name is Bronnie Ware. She was a nurse assigned to patients who only had 3 to 12 more weeks to live. And over the 5-6 year period, she helped hundreds of these patients during their last days. And she got to know these patients. She started asking them questions about, how was your life? What were some of the happiest moments of your life? But she also started asking them, what were your biggest regrets? Now that you only have a few days to live, what do you regret the most about your life? And what she found was quite fascinating. She found that even though she asked the same question to some 100 people, they all had the same regrets. And so she ended up writing a blog about this topic, The 5 Regrets of the Dying, and it was read by 3 million people in 1 year. She got so excited, she wrote the same book by the same title, 5 Regrets of the Dying. It became an instant bestseller. It is now published in some 22 different languages. What's the number one regret people had? The number one regret people had was that I wish I had had more courage to live a life true to myself and not the life that others expected of me. I wish I had had more courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. So just take a couple of minutes here and fast forward your life. Imagine you're at that point where you only have a few more days to live. And let's say you don't change anything in your life today. Looking back, what regrets would you have? Maya Angelou, an American poet, said something so beautiful. She said, there is no agony like bearing an untold story within you. There is no agony like bearing an untold story within you. So ask yourself, what untold story, what unsung song, what unwritten poem, manuscript, business plan that needs to be manifested in your life between now and then? So what we'll be talking about today are the 7 secrets of happy and fulfilled life, because if you look at the likes of Manny Pacquiao and the Lea Salonga and the Jessica Sanchez and Michael Martinez, some of the Filipino role models we can look up to, we can learn from these people. They all share these 7 secrets. Now, how did I find these secrets? They're not my secrets. I did not discover them. I did not write them. I have simply observed them in successful people. One of my fascinations in life is wonder why some people in life go on to do amazing things while the others live going through the daily grind. What differentiates these people from the masses? What differentiates MVP? Why is he sitting at the top of the First Pacific food chain? What differentiates Manny Pacquiao? How did he go from a teenager who was selling flowers in the streets of General Santos City to being a boxing legend in the world? What differentiates Michael Martinez? How did he go from being a young boy walking through SM Mall 10 years ago to now being one of the phenom in the figure skating world? So the reason I would like to share these 7 secrets with you is that if they have worked for these successful people, perhaps it may work for all of us as well. If they have used them as like the 7-digit code that unlocks their potential, hopefully these 7 secrets may unlock our full potential as well. So that's the humble and sincere desire that I have, that by sharing this, perhaps we can all learn something and increase the quality of our life and live a life that would not have any regrets at the end. So let's start with the first secret. The first secret is find your bliss and follow it. I read somewhere something really beautiful. It says that there are 2 important days in our lives. The day we are born and the day we find out why. 2 important days in our lives. The day we are born and the day we find out why. We find out the purpose of our life. We find out what we are meant to do during this rare chance we have on this planet. And I call it rare because does anybody know what are the likelihood? What is the likelihood? What are the odds of you being born as you? Does anybody have any idea here? This is going to be a very participatory event, so I won't let anybody take a nap here. What do you think are the odds of being born as you in this world? Any guess? Random guess? Pardon? 0? Very close to 0 actually, yeah. The odds of you being born as you, with your uniqueness, is almost 1 in 400 trillion. That is 14 zeros after 4. Just to give you a comparison, 2 days ago, there was a mega million lotto in the US, I believe in Ohio. It was worth $400 million. What do you think were the odds of winning that lotto? Anybody has a guess? It was 1 in 260 million. You know, we hear people say, I wish I just win a lottery and my life would be much better after that. Only if I can win a lottery, then I'll be happy. Well, guess what? Each one of us won the biggest lottery there is in this universe, right? By being born into this planet here. The question is, are we going to squander this 1 in a 400 trillion chance by living a mundane, mediocre life, or are we going to really go for living our full potential? How do you go about living your full potential is basically following your bliss, finding it first and following your bliss. Now, when I talk to people about this topic, they say, oh, Maulik, I understand this whole concept of bliss and my calling, but I don't know what my bliss is. I don't know what my calling is. I don't know what my God-given gifts and talents are. How do you go about finding your bliss? So I want to take you through 3 takeaways that you can use to find your own bliss. But before I do that, let me ask, how many of you already know what your bliss is in this life? How many of you already know what you are meant to do what your calling is. You got to have some people here. We got 1, 2, 3. That's great. 4, 5. Let's give them a round of applause. I think at least they'll enjoy the afternoon merienda, so that's great, while the rest of us can find out what our bliss is. But the number one takeaway for finding your bliss is be aware and alert of your aha moments. Be aware and alert of your aha moments in life. What are the aha moments in life? You know, when Janet was walking past those tennis courts, and when she saw these young girls walking around with these big tennis rackets, what she experienced was an aha moment. She went, aha, if these girls can do it, maybe I can do it too. It resonated with her. Something that she saw outside resonated with her. Michael Martinez, what he went through when he was 8 years old, and he was walking in one of the SM malls by the ice rink, he stopped his mom and said, Mom, I want to watch them. And he watched these young kids gracefully going around the ice rink, figure skating. A couple of them actually went into the air, did the double, and then landed gracefully on the ice. He was hooked. He went, aha, if these kids can do it, I can too. So take a minute or two here and think about your life so far. Did you go through any of these aha moments? Did you see somebody who was singing on stage and you're like, I would like to sing like the person? Did you see somebody who was dancing and you're like, you know what, I would like to dance like that person? Do you see your CEO sitting in the corner office and like, aha, maybe I need to do that as well, or I can do that as well? So take a couple of minutes here and write down what aha moments have you gone through so far in your life that resonated with you, something deep within you. And I'll ask a couple of volunteers to share what those aha moments were. It's not, aha, I have a text message. It's So do we have volunteers here? What aha moments did you go through? What did you observe and you went like, I want to do that. I have a feeling that if I do this, I would be very, very good at it. Before I pick anybody here. Marie. I'll start picking on some SPI Global people here to start us off.
Yeah, I think you know my aha moment, Maulik.
Yes.
Yeah, when I see people, because I think I'm doing HR for the last 26 years, and my aha moment is really in the deepest core of my heart. I think I wanna sing my heart out in a big venue.
Simple?
No.
I'm just kidding.
I'm unleashing a secret in front of 300 people.
Well, that's good. Let's give her a big round of applause for sharing her aha moment. And I have seen her sing, and I can assure you that that's an amazing aha moment. Definitely her bliss. What else? We had a couple of people here who actually already found their bliss. Maybe we can ask them to share what that bliss is. Please, if you can get him a microphone, please.
Hi, my name is Rajesh Badhwar and I'm representing NID Technologies.
Okay.
One of my aha moments in life was when I met one of the world's leading spiritual masters face to face by the name of Sri Satya Sai Baba. I saw him loving, serving, and helping people, which made a huge impact in my life for me to think in terms of serving society, making a difference to somebody's life. And I think that is what my mountain is, that is what my bliss is, whereby whatever I do, my mission, personal mission, is to help and serve others.
That's great. Thank you. Please. So, really take some time. If you couldn't think of anything, really take some time today and think through your life. When were those moments when something resonated quite well within you and you knew that if you were to put your heart and soul into it, you can become really good at that particular thing? Number two is, once you have been aware and alert of your aha moment, you have to act on it. And there are three options you have, right? You either act on it right away, or you take a mental note of that aha moment and act on it later in your life, or you just completely ignore it, which is what we most of the time do. But we'll cover the first two out here. Act on it right away. What did Janet do when she saw these young girls playing tennis? Let's see if anybody remember what I just said, or were you just daydreaming at that time? What did she do after that? Pardon? She went home and asked her dad, "Can you please teach me how to play tennis?" Next day, she was on the tennis court. What did Michael Martinez do when he saw those young kids ice skating in one of the rinks in SM Malls? What did he do? He asked his mom for money. "Can I try this now?" He rented the ice skates, rented the kneecaps, rented the helmet, and he went for a few spins. So ask yourself, if you went through that aha moment, did you act on it right away or not? The second option is, sometimes when the aha moment happens, maybe you're too young. Maybe the life situation doesn't allow you to really act on your aha moment right away. So what do? You actually take a mental note of it and then come to it later in your life, because it keeps popping up in your consciousness, like, you know what, you should be doing something about that aha moment. And I will share with you a video of a Filipina. Her name is Diana David. She was born and brought up in Canada to Filipino parents. Her aha moment happened when she was very young, around 5 or 6 years old, but she acted on it when she was around 20 or 30 years old. Just have a look at this video. It's a fascinating, very inspiring story of how someone goes about living a life following their bliss.
Hi, everybody. My name is Diana David, and I'm a movement storyteller. And this is a ball, a red ball. Such a simple thing. But for something so simple, you could do so much with it. You could roll it. You can spin it. You could flip it. And you can balance it. This, ladies and gentlemen, is called contact juggling. And this ball changed my life. Ever since I was little, I loved and was so fascinated by how things moved. With objects, machines, and even the human body. I guess that's why I dance so much. You see, I grew up always dancing. Oh yeah, oh, MC Hammer, you know that one. But my dad said, that is a hobby. You need to get a career. So I became a mechanical engineer, not electrical. It's about the same thing. You see, I thought my parents wanted me to get a job. I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta. And woohoo, Edmonton! Wait for the story. I grew up in a very traditional Filipino upbringing, where their definition of success was to get a good education, stable job, and raise a family. So I pursued that. So after high school, I got a degree, and then I flew off to San Francisco for my first job as a mechanical engineer. Okay. Yeah, I'll be right there. Okay, degree, check. Career, check. 401k, check. Proud parents, double check. But after 4 years, I started to get the itch. I don't know if you've felt this before, but it's that feeling in the pit of your stomach, where you know you're just not meant to be there. Well, that feeling started to go for days. Then it lasted for weeks, and then months. Is this it? Is this what I was going to do for the rest of my life? Analyzing heating and ventilation systems for commercial buildings and high-rise apartments? Ew. So then what was I going to do? I thought back when I was 5. It was 1983. I was watching TV. And then I saw a man with a sparkly jacket slide backwards across the stage. And then everybody went nuts. I could do that. And then soon after that, I heard that my older brother was going to perform in his first piano recital. What? You get to perform on stage? So I told his piano teacher, I want to perform on stage too. Oh, you do? Well, Diana, you don't even play piano. What are you going to do? I'm going to dance. I'm going to dance Michael Jackson. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my first performance ever at the age of 5, dancing to Michael Jackson's Beat It. Rendition by Diana David. Yes, it's true. So, I guess my dad saw my talents and he decided to create a Filipino dance group called the Philippine Barangay Performing Arts Society. It was great. I got a chance to learn about my culture, learn the language, and learned how dance was a form of teaching storytelling and passing down traditions. I got to connect with the community, and all the kids I hung out with became my family. What else I also learned from that was conformity. I mean, okay, don't get me wrong. My parents, great life. They took care of me, they gave me a good life, they worked really hard, but it felt like there was this narrow path laid out for me all the way to success. And if I didn't go down it, I would be considered a failure. So, it was around that time when I was deciding whether to quit my job or to stay, that I had a conversation with my dad. So, Dad, why did you come to Canada? course, because I had a dream. I wanted to go abroad to raise a family. I remember the time I didn't even talk too much because I thought I would run out of English. Dad. And then I realized I was my dad's dream come true. So if my dad had a dream, then what was my dream? That's when I started to listen to my 5-year-old self. I had to quit. And so I did. To join clown school! Yes, there's such a thing. So yes, I mean, all my life I trained to look like everyone else. But really, I wanted to break out, and I wanted to be different. So I thought that if the lizard man, the bearded lady, and the werewolf twins can do it, maybe quitting my engineering job and joining the circus will help me find my unique something. So, when my parents believed I was ruining my life, I was starting to strip away the expectations from the community, my parents, and even myself. It was crazy, clown school. I remember this time where we actually had to make a mistake look real. What? Like, okay, it was the hardest thing ever. I had to pretend to catch a ball and pretend like I couldn't do it. I mean, honestly, it was the hardest thing. I even remember crying so much because it was so hard for me. I couldn't do something, I wasn't good at being bad at something. Because, like, honestly, like, really, making a mistake on purpose, being raised as an engineer, being raised in a traditional background and so strict rules, failure was never an option. But I stuck through it. I learned to not take things so seriously. To remember to play again. Why you here? Oh, and that mistakes can actually be material, and to find the joy in the simplest things. And then it was time for us to find our special thing in clown school, our shtick. All right. Well, some were doing magic, some were tossing clubs, some was doing face painting. I mean, yeah, I could dance, but I didn't think it was enough. But it was not until I saw this street performer juggle with just one ball. I had never seen anything like it before. It was as if he was suspending time. And then I had a vision of me moonwalking with a ball. Yes! That's my shtick! Oh yeah, that's gonna be my unique something! Yeah! So, there I was in clown school. I had a ball, I had a dream, and I had no money.
So we're going to come to the second half of that video. So remember the last words from her. She found the ball, she had the dream, but no money. So we'll come to that in a minute here. So this was a great example of you not acting on your aha moment right away. You're waiting until later in your life when the moment is right, or that voice within you becomes so strong that you cannot ignore it anymore. What do you do after that? So you have gone through the aha moment, you have acted on it. The third takeaway is you embrace the moment of truth. And the moment of truth is asking these three questions. The first question is, does this light my fire? And that's a question for your soul, because in order for you to dedicate your life to doing something as crazy as juggling with one ball, it gotta light your fire. You gotta be passionate about it, right? So the first question you ask is, whatever it is that created that aha moment, does it light your fire? The second question is for your heart. You ask, if I were to put my heart into this, could I become among the best, not in the neighborhood, not in your city, not in your country, but best in the world? So you have to ask the question, if I were to put my heart into this aha moment, could I become the best in the world? And the third question is for your rational mind. Would I be able to make money? Would I be able to provide for myself and my family? Would I be able to put food on the table, roof over my head and my family's head? The challenge with these three circles is, when most of the people look at these three circles, which one do you think stops them from following their dreams? Which one prevents them for going after their dream? Which one do you think? The money part, right? And this is where the difference is. And I want you guys to really get this concept right, because this is the biggest differentiating factor between those who go about doing some amazing things in their life and the ones who go through the daily grind. When the likes of Manny Pacquiao and Lea Salonga and Michael Martinez and Jessica Sanchez, they look at these three circles, they have a pact with the universe. They actually negotiate with the universe. They say, hey, universe, thanks for sending that aha moment. That thing lights my fire. I promise you, I'm going to put my heart into being the best I can be in the world. But while I'm doing that, can you please take care of the third circle for me? When we think about these three circles, we get stuck right into the third circle. We don't even move towards following the bliss because we're wondering, what if I cannot make money from following my bliss? What if I cannot provide for my family? Think about Manny Pacquiao's story, right? When he was 14 years old and he took a slow boat to come to Manila, do you think he figured out the money part? He knew only two things, the first two circles. He knew boxing lights his fire. He knew that he could be the best in the world if he were to put his heart into boxing. But then he let the universe figure out the money. Do you think he's doing all right in the money front? I know he got tax issues and the BIR and IRS is after him, but beyond that, he's doing okay. Michael Martinez, do you think he worried about the third circle then when he was 8 years old? He worked on the first two circles. He asked, does this ice skating light my fire? Can I become the best in the world if I put my heart into it? He did, and guess what now? He's getting the checks coming from MVP. MVP signed the check for $10,000. SM gave him some money. Now he's going to show up on some billboards on EDSA. He'll become one of the biggest brands here in the Philippines. Money takes care of itself if you focus on the first two circles. So that's secret number one. Find your bliss and follow it. Secret number two is, that was not part of the, just happened on its own. The secret number two is everything is created twice. Everything is created twice. A few years ago, Mike Vance, who was then the creative director of the Walt Disney Studio, was visiting Florida, and someone asked him, isn't it sad that Walt Disney did not survive to see the Disney World? Isn't it sad that Walt Disney did not survive to see the Disney World? And he said something very profound, and it captures the essence of this secret. He said, of course he saw it. That's why it's here. What he meant by that was, Walt Disney visualized every single detail of the Disney World before it was manifested in the physical world. Disney World was created twice. First time in the inner world of Walt Disney, and then in the outer world, in the physical world that we see. Look at this ballroom here. How many times this ballroom was created? Twice. First, the architects and the interior designers saw this ballroom in their visualization. And then we see it now in this physical world. Perhaps your designer bag that you're carrying, the designer clothes, designer watch that you're wearing, they were all created twice. First by the designers, and then created in this physical world. This is a very powerful concept, and I want to share with you 3 examples of it. I want to start with an incredible study that was done in Australia. How many of you are basketball players, by the way? How many of you play, not for PBA or just for fun? Nobody here? Okay, my God. Yeah, thanks, Ali. So there was a psychologist named Alan Richardson in Australia. He did this study. He randomly chose 3 groups of basketball players. And he asked the first group to practice free throws for 20 minutes for 20 days. This group would practice free throws 20 minutes every day for 20 days. The second group was asked not to practice at all. And the third group was asked to practice free throws for 20 minutes in their mind for 20 days. When the study was done, he looked at the results and he was fascinated by it. The first group improved their performance by 24%. The second group, as expected, did not improve at all. But the third group that was only practicing in their mind improved their scores by 23%, almost as good as the ones who are actually doing it. So what that study goes to tell you is that if you want to become better in whatever that bliss that you found, singing, dancing, managing, leading, public speaking, whatever it is, by simply visualizing you can actually get yourself to become better. The second example I want to share with you is, let me ask you, who is this guy? Jim Carrey, right? Everybody's like, is he really Jim Carrey? It's Jim Carrey, but if I ask the same question to you guys in 1987, when he was just a 25-year-old struggling stand-up comedian trying to make it big in Hollywood, you probably didn't know who this guy was, right? Jim Carrey believed in the visualization. There is a legend about him that every time he has some time off in the evening, when he's not doing his stand-up routine, he will drive up to the Hollywood Hills in his old Toyota. He would park his Toyota and he would just look at the City of Angels and visualize him being successful in the Hollywood industry. One day he actually went one step further. He pulled out his checkbook and wrote himself a check for $10 million. And in the notes he wrote, for the acting services rendered. And he postdated this check to Thanksgiving 1995. He wrote this check in 1987 and post-dated it in 1995. What did he do there? He not only visualized his success, but he actually claimed the success as well. Guess what happened in 1994? His first movie came out as him being the lead role. Does anybody know which one? Ace Ventura, the Pet Detective. And the same year, he signed 2 more movies, The Mask and The Dumb and the Dumber, and he did not get $10 million for each. He got $20 million for each of those 2 movies. Jim Carrey was able to visualize his success by simply taking some time out of his busy schedule and dreaming what he wants to do, how he could be the best in the vocation that he chose, acting. The third example, how many, I know we had only like 2 basketball players here. How many golfers do we have here? 2 people again. I'm sure you are, some of you are just being shy here. We need to feed you some coffee for the second half, I think. But we have some golfers. Can I see some hands? Yeah? Okay, we have some golfers. Let me ask you this question. Who is the most accomplished golfer of all times? Pardon? Tiger Woods? Nope. Jack Nicklaus, that's right. 18 major. How many for Tiger? 14. Are you in finance? He is in finance for SBI. I'm worried. 18 majors for Jack Nicklaus. And someone once asked him, Jack, what is your secret of success? How do you do this? How do you go about winning these majors? How do you become one of the most accomplished golfers in the world? And this is what he had to say. And he actually takes this visualization to the nth degree. He actually believes in micro visualization. Just read this quote from him. Okay, I covered the first 2 lines. First I see where I wanted to finish, nice and white, and sitting high on the bright green grass. Then the scene changes quickly, and I see the ball going there, its path, trajectory, and shape, even its behavior on landing. Then there is a sort of a fade out, and the next scene shows me making the kind of swing that will take the previous images to reality. You know, when I go to the Army or the Navy driving range, man, in half an hour I go through 200 balls. I don't do any of this visualization, and no wonder my balls are ending up in the net or in the gutter in front of me. There's a reason why he is the most accomplished golfer of all times, because before he makes every single shot, even in practice, he visualizes exactly how that ball is going to go from where it is to where he wants it to be. So how do you implement visualization techniques in your life. You have found your bliss. What do you do about it, right? So I want you guys to do this for a couple of minutes. I'll give you one example. The first takeaway for you for visualization is, whatever your bliss is, create a detailed image of you achieving your end goal. So let's say, for example, your bliss is to start a restaurant. You have always wanted to start a restaurant on your own. So you want to start visualizing what neighborhood that restaurant is in. Then imagine yourself walking towards your restaurant, and as you stand in front of it, what kind of facade do you see? What kind of signage do you see? As you open the door of the restaurant, what kind of aroma do you smell? What kind of menu do you see on the table? What kind of people are helping your customers? Do your customers look happy? So as many details that you can create, the better the end result is. You know, the first guy we talked about, Alan Richardson, he did this basketball study. He found out that the players who are using their senses while they were visualizing did better. The players who could actually feel the basketball in their hand, the players who could actually hear the basketball bounce off the rim, the players who actually saw the ball going through the hoop did better after 20 days. So when you are visualizing your end goal with your bliss, add as many senses as possible. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes here. I want you guys to write down as many details you can create about the end goal that you see achieving with the bliss that you have found. We'll have a couple of volunteers after that. All right, let's see if we have a couple of volunteers to share what the end goal looks like for them. Anyone here would like to share what is their bliss and how do they see themselves achieving that? I'm going to pick on somebody from SPI now. Celeste?
My bliss is, I guess SPI is a very showbiz family, so I think dancing is my bliss. I have performed in so many programs in my previous life at BOI, and SPI as well, every Christmas party. So all of the details about dancing, and maybe I think the judges, if I compete, there are judges.
PGT, you are at PGT. You are performing in the Pilipinas Got Talent.
Yeah. Maybe they have an age limit, Maulik. I probably qualify anymore. Yeah, all of those.
But you see happy. You see happy faces in front of you?
Because of the performance.
That's right.
I
And standing ovation?
Yeah, I practice every day. My sweat, you know, I'm perspiring because I'm into it.
Excellent.
What
All right.
else?
Well, good. Give her a big round of applause, guys. Thank you. So make sure that you take some time in your life and really assign time to visualize. The other two takeaways are, assign a time when you are most creative to visualize every day. Ideally, you want to spend at least 20 minutes visualizing your end goal. And you want to assign the time not when you're about to just take a nap, because you close your eyes, I'm telling you, if you're nappy, you're going to fall asleep right away. That's why I don't want you guys to actually close your eyes while you are doing that. I want you to write down something so that I don't lose all of you. And the second thing is, find a spot in your home or your office that is conducive for this creative exercise. It doesn't need to be an elaborate space. It could be simply a quiet corner. It could be a space in front of your altar. It could be a couch that is comfortable for you to sit on and visualize what your end goal is. Okay? So that's secret number 2. Everything is created twice. So before you can achieve your goal, you'll have to achieve that goal mentally in your mind first. The third secret is success equals opportunity plus readiness. Now you may look at this and say, Maulik, I mean, hello, we didn't pay 2,500 pesos to be told something so common sense. Tell me something that I don't know. Because this is something that we have heard before. Success equals opportunity plus readiness. So the equation is not the secret. The right interpretation of the equation is the secret here. Most of the people look at this equation and say, what this means is when the opportunity knocks on my door, I will try to be ready and take advantage of it, and that would create success in my life. The successful people, when they look at this equation, they have a pact with the universe. They say, look, universe, I have no control over when the opportunity is going to knock on my door. I know you're working on it, but while you're working on creating that opportunity for me, I'm going to force myself to be ready even before that opportunity knocks on the door. Do you guys see the difference? Tama ba? Di ba? Naman? You get it, right? So let me give you a couple of examples. You may think, well, that makes a lot of sense, but it's still kind of hocus pocus. So I'll give you two real-life examples of it. One from Manny Pacquiao's life and then one from Lea Salonga's life. I know we know a lot about Manny Pacquiao, so I'm not going to bore you with his story, but I want to highlight two events in his life that capture the essence of this secret here. The first one happened when he was 14 years old. I told you guys earlier that he took a slow boat to Manila because he realized that if he continued selling flowers, if he continued doing these odd construction jobs in General Santos City, he was never going to achieve his dream of being the boxing champion, being the boxing legend. So without telling his family, when he's 14 years old, he boards this slow boat and arrives in Manila. Now he knows full well that if he wants to become a professional boxer, he will have to be at least 18 years old. So most of us would have kind of thought about it as like, you know what, I cannot be a professional boxer for the next 4 years. So I'm going to chill out, I'm going to hang out, I'm going to have fun in Manila, and when I'm 17 and a half, I'm going to start working out, and I'm going to be ready. But what does Manny Pacquiao do? He finds LM Gym in Sampaloc and assigns himself to this grueling training regimen. He will wake up in the morning at 5:30, runs to Quirino stand, comes back running, finds people who can spar with him, works with the heavy bag, does 2,000 sit-ups, push-ups, rope jumping when he's 14 years old. No opportunity in sight. But he already is committed to being ready. And guess what happens? 2 years later, when he was 16, a couple of people noticed him. One of them was the manager of the gym, and the other one was the producer for the Blow by Blow TV show. How many of you remember that? A few, they're like, oh, I'm not saying my age by doing that, but. So the producer of the TV show and the owner of the gym observed Manny Pacquiao sparring with somebody, and he saw the potential in this guy. So they approached him and said, hey, we have a fight the following week in Oriental Mindoro. Would you like to fight that match? And sure enough, Manny said yes. He had to get the parental waiver from Mommy D, but he got it. He fought that match, and he knocked out the opponent. He's 16 years old. Now, let me ask you this. Would the opportunity knock on his door if he was not ready? How many of you think that it would really knock on his door, even if he was not ready? Do you think it knocked on his door because he was ready? Yeah? 5 years later, something similar happens in his life again. In 2000, he has already made a good name for himself. He has 33 wins and 2 losses record here in the Philippines and in Asia. Everybody knows him here. But the challenge he had was nobody knew him in the United States. And he knew if he wanted to become one of the best in the world, he would have to go and conquer the United States as well. So he arrives in the US in 99-2000 with his advisors. The problem is nobody knows him. So no fight promoters are interested in taking him on. When he meets with HBO, they don't believe that he could sell pay-per-view buys. So massive cold reception in the US. But that doesn't dampen his spirit. What does he do? He goes and finds the new coach in the US. Which coach did he sign up for? Freddie Roach at the Wildcard Gym, right? And he assigns himself to another grueling training regimen without knowing if somebody is going to give him an opportunity to fight in the US. And guess what happens? Months into him arriving in the US, he gets a call from one of the fight promoters who are looking for a replacement, a last-minute replacement for a fight against then super bantamweight champion Ladwaba. And they asked him, hey Manny, would you be interested in playing? We need a boxer to fight this guy. Manny said yes. 2 weeks later, he's at the MGM Grand. And guess what happens? He wins by a technical knockout. Do you think he would have achieved this if he was just waiting for an opportunity to arrive first in the US and then starting to work out? In 2 weeks' notice, he gets in the boxing ring and actually wins the match by technical knockout. You see how they read success equals opportunity plus readiness? You understand what I'm saying here? Let me give you another example. Lea Salonga. Let's do a little bit of a who wants to be a millionaire here. How old was she when she auditioned for the Miss Saigon lead role, Kim? How many? Pardon? 17, 18 years old, that's right. But when did she debut her performance career in the Philippines? When she was 6. Impressive, very good. A lot of the times when people think about Lea Salonga, they say, you know what, maybe she just got lucky because these people were looking for an East Asian face. And she had it and she could sing. Well, guess what? How many East Asian faces were there in 1989 when they came to find a candidate for the lead role in Miss Saigon? Probably millions, right? But why did they choose Lea Salonga? Because between the time she debuted her performance when she was 6 years old to the time when she was 18, she had performed in so many different musicals. She had acted in some 7 movies and TV shows, right? Ninja Kids. You guys remember that? I wasn't here, so this Wikipedia is amazing. And then she had her own TV show, Love Leia. You guys remember that? She also opened for Stevie Wonder when he was in town in 1989. She was the opening act for Stevie Wonder. So if you look at Leah's life, it almost feels like she was preparing all along in her life for that opportunity to knock on the door. She was primed for that opportunity to knock on the door, and she knew that when that opportunity comes, she's going to claim that one. I want to show you a video of Lea Salonga's audition in 1989, and I get goosebumps when I see the video because she looks so much at ease for the biggest audition of her life. She is so confident and she looks like she belongs in this audition. So just have a look at this video. It will bring you back some memories of Lea Salonga when she was very young.
Hello. Before we start, I want to ask a favor of you.
Yes.
Could you autograph this one?
It's photo. Oh,
Sunlight and I moon.
once again.
You are sunlight and I moon. Joined by the gods of fortune.
Join boys and gods of fortune. Boys and gods of fortune. Listen.
Sunlight and I moon. Joined by the gods of fortune. God and I know, sharing the sky. We have been blessed, you and I. You are sunlight and I moon, joined here, brightening the sky with the flame of love, made of sunlight,
So you think Lea Salonga is ready? She was preparing for it for 12 months, 12 years actually in her life. The last example I want to give you is actually the live one. I mentioned earlier that we have Janet Bellarmino with us, and I want to pick her brain on how she went about preparing herself when there was no guarantee that she would have an opportunity to actually climb Mount Everest. So if we can please give her a big round of applause if she comes on stage. Thank you. This is more difficult than getting up to Mount Everest.
This is more difficult than climbing. Hi, Maulik.
Hi, thank you for your time. You know, we are talking about secret number 3 here, which is you have to be ready before the opportunity knocks on the door. And I want to kind of find out from you, you signed up for a 3-year training program before you had an opportunity to climb Mount Everest. But when you started the training, what you mentioned to me was that there was no guarantee that it would happen. So how did you go about making that decision that, you know, I'm going to actually commit myself to this effort?
Yes. It was quite, I would say, a journey for us, for all of us personally, and also for my team. And yeah, there was no guarantee for success during the time. But, you know, we really I think I just really had the opportunity that time. And as a team, we really had to work together, and you just really have to push yourself and just never give up. And even though there were no guarantees of success, as they say, you were primed to do it. And if you just follow the passion, and that's exactly what we did. We followed our passion, and I followed my passion, even though there was no my leader didn't say that, you're gonna make it on the team at the end. He didn't say that. There was no guarantee. He said, just train, and whatever it is that you accomplish at the end, then that's gonna be it. He didn't really promise anything like, yes, you will make it on the team.
So there was a bit of a faith, right? I mean, you had a lot of faith in the outcome. And where did that faith come from for you?
I guess I would say that the faith really came from within me, first of all, because I think it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me. And the mere fact that I got the call sometime like 2000, if I'm not mistaken, it was the early part of 2004. And I said to myself, Filipinos climbing Everest, I think this is a joke. I mean, we haven't even seen ice and snow. The only ice and snow ice that I saw is in the fridge, or in the cooler. So I didn't even know how it feels like to be in ice, I mean, people can tell me all day long, oh, it's cold, but how cold is cold? I don't know. But yeah, it's faith, it's belief in the self, and also it's the force around you. I guess it's just priming you and pushing you to that direction. And as you said, if you found the bliss, then you really have to go for it.
Tell us a little bit about the 3-year training. I know it was grueling. It was so tough that 45 people started it and that you ended it with 9 people. So take us through, what did you do? Some highlights and perhaps the toughest parts of your training.
Okay, yes, around 45 people made it on the list, brainstorming, oh, this person can do it, this person can do it, this and that. But then we have to go through a lot of training, and most of this is out of the country, and that alone is a very big challenge for us. It's just, in Philippine setting, it's very difficult to come up with a group, and to support a group is another issue. So it took us months to come up with 32, in fact, who attended the launching. It was launched in sometime 2004, and it was officially declared hey, we're gonna have a Philippine Everest team who's gonna train for 3 years and is gonna climb in 2007. And took a lot of, eyebrows, ooh, really, you're gonna climb Everest? Really, can you do it? I mean, Filipinos. Yes, we know Filipinos has been all over the world. You can see Filipinos in every corners of the world. And yes, we will be on top of the world someday. So that was the. But I can say truly, deep in my heart, it was not easy. It was not easy. The 3-year training is not only physically exhausting, it was mentally, and it was physiologically exhausting as well, and it's psychologically demanding. We were so subjected to a lot of insults, physically, mentally, everything, and emotionally, that it is a must for us to accept, understand and accept what we're going through and what we're stepping into. I think it's the only way that you can succeed as well, is to understand and accept the realities in it. And when you're talking about Everest, fatalities and death is just, it's reality. It's a fact. It's not like, oh my God, there's a dead body there. It's like, when we were summiting, there's a dead body there. Oh, okay, that's good because we're on the right track.
Wow.
It's nothing like, oh, Christ, there's a dead body, it's gross. Nothing, it's not gross, it's preserved. It's actually just like a man sitting down there, yeah? They're all intact. But, yeah, it kind of
I hate to say it, but it's like, okay, we're in the right track because this is a summit. I mean, he didn't really make it like 10 feet away the summit. So, and so, yes, aside from physical training, so we did our first training in Manali, in India. So India is also very close to our heart because it is where we were subjected to a lot of, it was like a baptismal by fire. We were like fish out of the water. All of a sudden, we couldn't breathe. We didn't know what altitude was.
It was ice, a lot of ice.
It was ice, but it was, the base camp was around 14,000 feet, and our highest mountain here is a hill compared to that. It's only 10,000 feet. So we were like, our instructors were, okay, this is the ice axe. This is like, we were like, we didn't really even know. We were just looking at them and headache and this and that, and we didn't really understand what was going on, but we were very sick, but we made it. It's all part of the training. And so after that, we did training in New Zealand for technical. It was more pleasant environment, but still it was a very harsh environment for us because we experienced a lot of snowstorm during our technical skill training. And then we had little expedition in Mustag-Ata, in Cho-Oyu, and then Denali. And those are really some of the major training climbs that we had before the summit of Everest. But I guess it's the more than the physical element, it's really a lot of physiological and factors that are playing. It's psychological as well, because you really have to be prepared for the consequence. In fact, we have signed a waiver before we summited that the waiver says, whatever, if you die, what do you want to do with your body? And there were 3 choices. One,
become the guidepost for the next group.
one is picture taking. One is leave your body there, bring your body back. Of course, we all signed like, okay, just leave your body in Everest. At least you're preserved for a lifetime. So, and it takes a lot of money to bring somebody down, really.
The one final set of questions I have is more about, the 3 circles I talked about earlier. That a lot of the times the 3rd circle, the money question, keeps people from going for their dreams. How did you go through that decision-making process? Because you were 25, I believe, when you started the training, 24, 25?
Oh, Christ, how time flies. Yes, I guess.
Yes, approximately.
25, yes.
So that's the age where typically people are getting serious about their career, they're building their resume, and here you are essentially taking 3 years off during that precious time. Did you worry what would this experience do to your future career? Or you just said, something will work out of this experience? And I know the next question that is connected with that is, you are doing some incredible things for living with your husband who is here as well. Maybe talk a little bit about that after you talk about how was that decision-making process?
Yes, a very interesting topic about the money. It's always been interesting because in a personal basis, yes, all of us in the team, each of us has his and her own challenges when it comes to money part because, well, I was then living by myself and, yes, trying to get a career as typical Filipino family tradition is. And my mom's like, oh, you're 6 years in college, when are you graduating? I said, oh, Mom, I'm still really going to enjoy the college anyway. So, yes, and most my teammates, they have families before they summited Everest. So one of their factors is like, oh, what are you gonna feed your family? Are you getting some salaries on this team? And ideally, yes, we should, because we sort of like have to support ourselves. But it's very difficult to get sponsors. It's very difficult to get resources. And I can say that the money part is more challenging than the climb, I guess. To accumulate all this financial support for 3 years, it was more than Everest, actually. And to support 9, well, we started off 32 and then 9, just even 9 people to support them, their flights, their food, the trekking, everything. The permits alone is like, whew, it's really very heavy. But then, it did not stop us. And on a personal basis, yes, it did not stop me. Of course, I thought about it like, okay, 3 years, it's not a joke. And most of them, 3 years, you have a car, you have a house, you have this, you have that. But okay, what will I do in the next 3 years? I'll climb. What will I get? We don't have salary. And that time I was a tennis coach. I was working as a tennis coach. I was working as a physical instructor, fitness instructor. And I have to drop everything because our training is so demanding that we have to eat, breathe Everest 24/7. So I have to drop everything. And financially, I was kind of like, okay, I'm here, but I think and I believe this is once in a lifetime opportunity. So it was kind of difficult for us, but as I said, it did not stop us. And also the team, it did not stop the team. It was not enough reason for the team not to push through. And it was really a very great challenge for the team when it comes to financial support. But financial support is only one of the problems. And if you focus on that and being negative, you're really gonna just be stranded. So you have to make that as an opportunity, not really something that will pull you back. And so what we did is that we really created a lot of confidence by supporting each other in the team and really just rallying and keeping like a positive attitude even though it seems impossible, which is basically what Everest is. It is perceived as something impossible, especially for Filipinos, because our highest mountain is only 10,000 feet and we never even know what ice and snow is. So it seemed to be impossible, but then if you just believe that you can do it, and if you just work together as a team, then there is nothing impossible. So I think that was really sort of what motivated us and pushed us through both personal aspect and as a team to summit Everest.
The beautiful thing is what you do for a living is actually connected with what you did by climbing Mount Everest. So please tell us about your business that you're running with your husband, Ara Coron Palawan, and perhaps you may get some clients from this as well who may be interested in perhaps going and climbing to at least the base camp. So tell us a little bit about, is it Bellarmino Ventures? Is that
yes,
right?
It's Bellarmino Ventures. So, yes, it's, the question after summiting Everest is like, okay, what's next? You've climbed the highest mountain, so what? And I have married the best sailor in the world, have crossed the oceans. His name is Todd Forney. He has sailed around the world without an engine for the last 10 years, and so you think I'm crazy, he's crazier. But I guess it is both our passion and our lifestyle is expedition. Expedition is our lifestyle, and we both have been into a lot of adventures and a lot of experiences. So it is really our sort of dream and sort of ideas together. The Bellarmino Ventures is basically designed because we want to share the opportunity to people to experience what we have experienced as well. And for the Everest thing, I know a lot of people also wanted to do something, maybe not Everest, but something to do, just get out of that four corners of your room and get out of the conformity and get out to do something that is in your bucket list, so to speak. So we sort of handled and formed that company to give you the opportunity. So we're doing One, we're based in Coron, Palawan. It's very, very pristine island and a very beautiful place and one of the most beautiful places in the whole world. And we do sailing expeditions, and we do island expeditions where we take you rough camping in every island for 5 days, and you do snorkeling, and you're aboard the pump boat, and we feed you, we do barbecue in the beach, and you see different islands around Coron. And we take you along to a lot of islands that are lost in time, so to speak. And also, aside from that, we do Himalayan expeditions. In fact, Todd and I are leading and organizing Himalayan expedition this season, and we're leaving on the 26th of March to be with 4 trekkers. They are from Malaysia, Philippines, US, and Nepal, and we'll be leading them to Everest Base Camp for a 14-day trek. And then we have to go back to Kathmandu and wait for another group who will climb 3 peaks of 6,000 meters. That's Lobuche, Pocalde, and Island Peak. And this is part of their training for a potential summit bid on 2015 and 2016. So we're basically leading in organizing it, and they are from Denmark and Finland and US and Nepal. So we are giving them opportunity to do it. And I guess Bellarmine Adventures, our mission really is to educate, to motivate and encourage people in any sort of form, shape, and size. Whoever you are, whatever you do, we encourage you to really face your Everest in whatever form it comes. If you're a mother, a father, a brother, a CEO, a worker, a street kid, or whatever, you have everyday Everest that you have to hurdle. And that is what Bellarmine Adventures is working on, and working on the ideal is to really educate. And it doesn't matter what challenges you face, it is how you tackle it and how you explore yourself and how you push yourself to the limits. And you just really have to have that attitude that you can do it. Because if you cannot believe, or you won't believe in yourself, nobody will. And you, by exploring yourself, by exploring opportunities, you will know and you will come to a point that you will surpass what you thought is impossible and what you thought is only possible for you. So it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, wow, I did that. And that is what matters most in life, like realizing your potential. And Bellarmine Adventures is giving you opportunity to be in that situation. And we want you to be with us. We want to take you along in our adventures, in our expeditions, and lifetime experiences.
Beautiful, and we can reach you by going to your website, BellarmineAdventures.com. Excellent.
All
Great.
right.
Janet, thank you so much very much. Let's
Thank
give her a
you.
big round of applause.
Thank you, Maulik.
Thank you. So with that, we go back to our equation, success equals opportunity plus readiness. There is an opportunity for break, and I think we all are ready. So we're going to break for 10 minutes, and then we start and cover the remaining 4 secrets of fulfilled and happy life. Thank you.